Today I'm going to do the classics book tag. Nobody tagged me to do this, but I love classics and I love books and I love this tag, so I'm going to do it. The first question is an overhyped classic which you really didn't like, and that is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Now, I had to read this book for a 12th grade English class, and I hated the story. I could not relate to any of the characters, and I have given this 1 star on Goodreads. There's another very hyped book, which is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I gave this 1 star as well, but this one I read when I was very young, so I want to reread this. Great Expectations, however, I never want to pick up again. I just think it's a horrible book, and I did not like the writing style as well. It's not just the story, the writing style put me off as well. The second question is favorite time period to read about. So I like to read books from the Georgian era because of Jane Austen, and I also like books from the Victorian era because of George Eliot and Elizabeth Gaskell. However, I cannot do justice to this question because I have not read books from many time periods. The third question is your favorite fairy tale. So I want to read the Grimms and Anderson's fairy tales, but at the moment I have only read English fairy tales in this Wordsworth Classics edition, and from this collection I like Little Red Riding Hood. The fourth question is, what is the most embarrassing classic you haven't read yet? So there are so many classics which I want to read and I haven't read yet, so I'm going to skip this question. Top 5 classics you would like to read soon. I usually don't make lists of books to read soon because I never follow that list. But for the sake of this video, let me just share a few books from my TBR. There's Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Bronte, Vilette by Charlotte Bronte, and Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. Favorite modern book or series based on a classic? So for this question I chose the Jane Austen Book Club by Karen Joy Fowler. In this book, 6 characters make a book club and they read a Jane Austen book every month and meet up once a month to discuss that book. So whenever I finish reading a Jane Austen book, I usually come to this and see how they discussed that book. So when I'm done with Northanger Abbey, I'm going to come to the month of June where they discussed Northanger Abbey. So I really enjoy it, and I think every Jane Austen fan would really enjoy this. There is also a movie based on this book. Favorite movie version or TV series based on a classic? So for this one, I really enjoy the North and South BBC miniseries. There are 2 of them. I really enjoy both of them. One was made in 2004 and the other one in 1975. I have given both of them 8-star rating on IMDb. I also enjoy the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice starring Keira Knightley and the 1999 Mansfield Park. I have given both these movies 10 stars rating on IMDb. I also want to mention The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. The movie of this was made in 1994 starring Catherine Zeta-Jones, and that movie made me pick up this book. So it's pretty good. It's a Book World says that you can also mention your favorite adaptations. So I would like to mention Lost in Austen and Austen Land, which are based on Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Worst classic to movie adaptation, and for this I will choose the 1995 Sense and Sensibility and Mansfield Park, which was made in 2007. Favorite editions you would like to collect more classics from? So I like the vintage Red Spine editions. I like the Penguin English Library editions. I don't even mind the orange spine thing. Then there is Penguin Popular Classics. These are not published anymore, I think, but they look very nice on my shelf. Then there is the Vintage Classics Library. They have a simple white spine. I also like the Wordsworth Classic editions. They have notes in the back and introduction in the beginning, which is very useful, especially when I'm reading Adam Bede, because that one has very dense language and these notes come in very handy. There is also this Collins Classics edition. They are very simple with black and white spine. Whenever I buy a book, I usually look at the front cover. I like paintings of things and maybe animations, but I usually do not like when they put on a portrait there, because I want to imagine the character for myself. Whenever there is a picture, I end up imagining him or her as the main character, and that ruins the story for me. An underhyped classic which you would like to recommend. So for this one, I chose Middlemarch by George Eliot. I read this book this year and now it is my favorite book of all time. I know it's a big, intimidating book, but seriously, it's worth it. Also, I would like to recommend Persuasion by Jane Austen because it is, I think, underhyped, and Agnes Grey by Emily Bronte because everybody talks about the other Bronte sisters and nobody talks about Emily, and even if they do, they end up talking about the Tenant of Wildfell Hall and not Agnes Grey, which is also a pretty nice book. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.